14 All-Star appearances, 5 World Series championships. Derek Jeter hit plenty of milestones over his 20-year career in baseball. Now in retirement, the former Yankees captain tells me he'd like to be a sports owner one day, just like his mentor, Michael Jordan, just not anytime soon.
I don't know enough about it to jump into team ownership. Like I said, well, my biggest fear in life is being unprepared, so I make sure that I'm fully prepared before I would do something like that. So, no, I have time for that.
So 12 months from now, we won't see Derek Jeter, team owner?
You have some money for me?
I think I might need to get some from you.
Well, for more on Derek Jeter, I don't want to own a team. For more on Derek Jeter's prospects, we're joined by Bloomberg Sports reporter Eben Novy-Williams. And Eben, so it got us thinking, right? If he were to go out, which he sounds like he wants to own a baseball team, how much money is this going to cost him?
I mean, for him, it won't cost too much, but as he said, he needs money. It's not. Derek Jeter made $265 million on the field in his career, and if he kept every dollar of that, he still wouldn't have enough money to buy the cheapest baseball team. So Derek Jeter's role in an ownership group is going to be kind of similar to what we saw with Magic Johnson or with Jay-Z, who's not a former athlete, obviously.
So a minority stake.
Exactly, a minority stake, but brings a public image to the ownership group and something that the public can latch onto.
Right. I mean, he at least, by his name, is going to be able to get some, a pretty big group together, or a group together.
Of course, absolutely. And in some ways, when you think about baseball, and in the past 20 years, Derek Jeter was the face of the sport for a while, and in a way that he came through unscathed in a career that a lot of athletes don't, especially with the new social media and the hyper scrutiny that we put on athletes.
Absolutely. And Eben, we calculated and put together the most expensive teams out there and the cheapest ones, right? So the most expensive teams, you can imagine who's on the list, right? So it's the Yankees, number one, of course, the Dodgers, and the Boston Red Sox. And they're in the billions there. Clearly out of the range for Derek Jeter to try to buy, as great as he is, alone. But the least valuable teams I thought were interesting here. So we have the Tampa Bay Rays, the Kansas City Royals, and also, of course, the Oakland Athletics. $495 million. Who could he buy? Could he buy one of those three?
Alone, Derek Jeter's not going to own a baseball team.
No, not alone. But are those for sale?
Yeah, I don't think there's any. I mean, there's none for sale right now. Okay. There may be owners looking, but Derek Jeter, really, there's any team that goes for sale is going to be in his wheelhouse because there's owners that are going to want to pair with him, as we said, to get involved in an ownership group. If he's looking for a sports franchise right now, the Atlanta Hawks are for sale. The Nets are poking around. So
right, but in other areas.
Yeah, but in terms of baseball, he may need to wait, and he may need to wait for a while. The last baseball team that sold, I believe, was the Dodgers, and that was a high price tag, of course.
In the billions,
that was 2.5 years ago.
So how do baseball teams rate in value in asset inflation versus football teams and basketball teams?
It completely depends on what team you're talking about. Obviously, the Yankees are worth more than the cheapest football team, be it the Jaguars or the Chargers. In general, football teams are worth the most because their media rights are worth the most. And then on average, you have very expensive basketball teams like the Lakers and the Knicks. You have very expensive baseball teams like the Yankees, like the Dodgers, like the Red Sox, like we said. And then there's, at the bottom end of those leagues, the teams that you're talking about, the Athletics, the Royals, the Rays. Those are teams that are worth about $500 million. So that's pretty cheap in terms of what a major league team costs.
It is. Eben, before we go, so spring training is just around the corner. What's going to be the biggest issue this season?
Man, the biggest issue, that's a good question. I mean, certainly right now, looking ahead towards the season, a storyline that I'm interested in following is Alex Rodriguez. I mean, it's been a storyline for so long, but now he comes back to baseball, comes back to the Yankees. We saw this week his handwritten apology to fans and teams. I think it's a step that he has to take, obviously. I mean, he can't come back without apologizing, that's for sure. But it will be interesting to see, A, what kind of shape he's in, B, how much the Yankees are willing to play him and how much leeway they're willing to give him, and what happens with that whole storyline. It's going to be interesting.
We shall see. It's certainly drama around that. Eben, thank you so much. Eben Novy-Williams, Bloomberg Sports reporter.